the things that stand out about Australia really touch me. They perhaps touch me even more because I have lived overseas. And I happen to live on a ferry wharf. And so most days I get a river cat. And I can't think of a more sublime form of transport, actually a more efficiently run form of transport. Yes, new boats are needed, there's no question about that, but considering the available stock, the people who run Sydney Ferries, who work on Sydney Ferries, have done an amazing job. So it was personal. Every time I stepped on a river cat, I felt good. Political, because we must oppose privatising. Privatising is theft. That's all it is. It's theft of public resources, giving it to vested interests so they can profiteer. That's what it means. It doesn't mean anything else. It is stealing what is ours. So the political in me will always oppose that.
More take this badge off of me, 'cause I can't use it anymore. It's getting dark, too dark to see. Feels like I'm knocking on heaven's door.
One of the biggest parts of the Save Our Sydney Ferries campaign wasn't the political struggle, wasn't the industrial struggle, but it was the community struggle. It was bringing the people in the community on side. It was bringing the local councils on side. Too often we recognise our failures in the union movement. We recognise what we did wrong. We recognise the mistakes we made and the things we didn't do. Too infrequently, we don't recognise our successes, our victories, our wins, what we done right, the times we stood together, the fights we had and the achievements we had out of it. Save Our Sydney Ferries, ladies and gentlemen, it started last year out of the campaign, or out of the position that was put by the Labor government back in 2007. We realised that we were going to lose Sydney Ferries. The workers of Sydney Ferries stood together, and guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The community stood behind you, and that's something that really needs to be recognised tonight. And I, for one, am proud to stand before you as emceeing tonight saying well done.
From day dot, we were told that we were going to have Sydney Ferries privatised. And from that moment in time, the Sydney branch of the MUA started to organise ourselves so that we'd have a strategy that would overcome all those different forces. And when I heard the news in late December that we in fact won this campaign, it was one of the greatest days of my industrial life. And everyone involved in this campaign has a lot to be thanked for. We also have Warren Smith, who's the previous branch secretary of the Sydney branch, who was instrumental in the start of this campaign. And I don't think there's anyone who's more worthy of appreciation and thanks than Warren Smith, because when this campaign started, we were on a hide into nothing. And Warren Smith pulled us into the room and organised a strategy that not only included the industrial officers in the branch, not only the membership, not only the unions, not only Unions New South Wales, not only the politicians, but everyone, and kicked off that coordination which was so necessary in us winning this campaign. So he deserves a massive thanks for tonight, as do all of us in this room tonight. So once again...
Ultimately, privatisation is about private companies taking all the profit and transferring all the risk back to government. And if this government goes down that path, then they deserve everything they get, and we will fight. We're not going to cop a privatisation outcome. We want to see Sydney Ferries maintained in public ownership. We're prepared to work with government, work with the ferry management to ensure a world's best practice ferry service, a functional ferry service, but we will not cop privatisation.
I think there are a number of elements that gave Save Our Sydney Ferries the success it's just had. But I think one of the critical elements was that the union involved the public. They brought it together. The union could no longer be isolated by the media. That happened so often. They involved the public. They broke down prejudices that might have been there between the union and the public. So it became a public issue, a community issue. You know, all the MUA struggles, all the great struggles in Australia and everywhere have always been that coming together of the organisers, the political people, the union people, and the general public. And of course, it was a happy campaign. It represented the ferries, the music, the Keep Our Sydney Ferries song just overwhelmed any cynicism that anybody with an anti-union prejudice might have had. So it had a heart about it. All that was so terribly important. It was a public campaign. It united people. That's critical.
Bit of Mark Champley to present to Jack Mundey a lovely picture of the Lady Northcott in recognition of all your hard work and all your time.
I find it very rewarding to be given some recognition about being in this wonderful struggle with you, because as one of the oldest people in the room, I can go back in history a bit, and it seems to me there's a spirit in this room tonight that has been lacking in the working class movement. The working class has been divided for too long, and the great periods of history of the working class in Australia, or any other country for that matter, have been when the leftists come together. And at long last, after a very sad period of the right-wing Labor Party in New South Wales doing the wrong thing, now we've got a situation where here tonight you've had some of the best people of the left in the Labor Party, some in the right in the Labor Party, and some of the left that would be included in the Greens, even though the Greens go probably further than the left. But I mean, the most important thing I get out of this is the new spirit of bringing together people with the same ideas about changing society. And the thing that's most appealing to me about the ferries argument is not Dennis's wonderful song, which is great, but the way in which the public all applaud public ownership. I haven't seen one thing yet. I've been to that when anyone's tried, when any journalist has gone and tried to talk to the public about the ferries, they all say, oh, the ferries are great. And I think the spirit of the workers themselves is important. If the workers working for the public transport system also fight for it, it makes it a lot stronger. And I think this has been a turning point, hopefully a turning point, where we can have the unity of the left, or even wider than that, the unity of the progressive section of humanity. Because with global warming and with the real problems, the ecological problems, the environment problems that confront humanity and other species, we've got to come together. And I think this is marvellous as an old builder's labourer looking back on the struggles we had before and trying to build unity. In this room tonight, I've seen the best expression of unity for 20 years. And therefore I think that I'd just like to finally say it's a pleasure to have been in this struggle. It's a great victory, and let's build on that so as to make public control of society more and more a respectability.
It's all over, and it's been won in the short term. I think we should be always vigilant. This Labor government could be rejected from office, and there may well be another struggle. The privatising lobby is so powerful these days, and so incessant, so relentless, that we have to be on our guard all the time. But that said, let's celebrate what this victory is, because as Jack Mundey said tonight, this is the most important victory for working people in this state for 20 years. And coming from somebody who, in my view, achieved the greatest victory for many, many years, the green bands, that's a high compliment. I mean, what people have got to realise that every time you step on a ferry, you get a sense of an Australia that all the public relations people and all the flag wavers can never really understand. It can't be defined. It's a sense of community. It's of working people doing their job, I think doing it in a contented way. It's passengers who like the whole sense and the atmosphere of the ferry. That's the best of Sydney, it's the best of Australia. And why is it? Because it's community, it's public. And as Jack Mundey said tonight, we've got to get back to this whole idea of public ownership, public control as, quote, respectable. Of course it's respectable because it's us, but it's something that we should understand again and get rid of these pirates. And that's all privateers are. They're privates who profiteer, and they don't represent us, the public.
Keep our Sydney ferries safe in public hands. Yes, keep our Sydney ferries safe in public hands. Keep our Sydney ferries safe in public hands. Thank you very much.